I have to do this like on Facebook and on Instagram.
Right.
All right. So we are good. Looks like I got this whole thing figured out. So, welcome everybody to the last of our Strange Realities preview episodes. It has been a long ride to get to this point, but we are finally there. And after this one, this is the last promotion that I think that I'm gonna have to do. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Serfiel may be joining us here in a little bit, but we're gonna round things out. I think I got most everybody. I think except Rebecca and Galentine, she wasn't able to do it, but most everybody that's in the conference, I got them to do it. Of course, Tim and Timothy Renner and Seriah, you guys are old hats at this. So I will go ahead and kind of introduce everybody, and then we're going to talk about what you guys are going to talk about at Strange Realities, which is coming up very, very soon. November 1st and 2nd at SAR Nashville and online, and November 3rd online only. And we have some of those online only speakers with us tonight. But first, I will introduce Kyndyll Lackey. Hello, Kyndyll.
Hello there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Kyndyll's actually speaking here in Nashville because she is in Nashville. Yep. And I've got Timothy Renner.
Hello. I'm fading in and out.
Yeah. Tim is like he's moved up in the world now in this. That's like really. You guys, like, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're really doing yourself a disservice because you would see this new plush dig Tim has. It's amazing.
With my
and we have Seriah Azkath all laid back, chillaxing in his easy chair.
In my studio.
In your easy chair studio. How I tried to do that. Me and Serfiel for a while. We tried to do it on couch, do the show on like the couches here, and we all laid back, but like we just started falling asleep.
Yeah, it doesn't happen here.
Yeah. So do you do the show like this normally when you do Where Did the Red Go?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also where we record the Metallic Onslaught and the Last Exit, and I'm surrounded by 3 couches.
And a cat.
And a cat, yes.
Yes. The cat just made an appearance. And then also here, you guys get to see him because we never get to see what he looks like. Robert Guffey is in the house with us too.
Greetings.
I've seen what Robert Guffey looks like. He posts pictures.
Usually we're just like on the phone, with Robert. So, but all right. So tonight, guys, we're gonna take a little bit of it. We're gonna take like an hour, and we're gonna do talk about what you guys are going to talk about at Strange Realities. Also, give you guys the times that you guys are going to be speaking as well. So I will pull that up. But Kyndyll, let's start with you because you told me what you were going to be talking about, but you're actually going to be speaking on Saturday, and that's going to be a Saturday afternoon.
And it's Saturday afternoon is my understanding, and my time slot, I believe, is 2:20 to 3:20.
Yes, I believe so.
Excellent.
Yes. I will confirm that very quickly.
Cool. Well, my name is Kyndyll Lackey, and thanks, Adam, for having me. And I see what you're doing here, picking on the new, making her go first. I see you there.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm super excited to be joining the conference this year. And my talk is entitled The Strangest Reality, Exploring the Universe Within. And what I'm aiming, I'm going to do this a really short, just quick little brief synopsis because I don't know what your normal format is and I don't want to take up too much time. But essentially what I want to do is kind of explore the Hermetic principle of correspondence, which most of us know as the phrase "as above, so below." I want to explore that kind of in concert with divination and doing it kind of from an opposite perspective. Normally in divination, tarot cards represent the random factor, But I want to kind of explore that on its head by exploring and analyze the seemingly random facts of each of our lives to uncover the archetypes that are at work, and using tarot and astrology and some other systems like that as something of a Rosetta Stone to help us examine our lives critically and think about the archetypes that are active and what information that may afford us in terms of our growth and our development and pursuing our potential. So, super excited to have the opportunity to talk about this. I'm going to pick up a couple of different ways, a couple of different methods for doing this, starting from a novice and working our way more towards some of the more advanced methodologies. Hopefully, in the time that I have allotted, I can get through all that.
Yeah. So yeah, you are speaking 2:20 to 3:30, and that is Central Time, just for everybody. So the schedule of the conference is all Central Time. So I do like the title, "The Strangest Reality." I think that's entirely appropriate.
Well, I thought it was pretty fitting, and of course it's an homage to your title. So thanks for letting me be a part.
Yeah, absolutely. We should say too, like you're local to Nashville, and we're glad to have you. And that you do tarot readings at Aroma G's here in Nashville. I
Yeah.
think you're getting started with that again. I think here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, actually, this Friday, the 25th, will be my first day back in the shop after a brief leave. But I'm going to resume my normal schedule. It's every Friday. I am the regular reader on Fridays from open to close at Aroma G's, which is located in Nashville, very near the airport. And for anybody who's curious, I'm a 22-year practicing professional tarot reader, and have also written a book on the intersection of tarot and music, specifically the music of Maynard James Keenan. And so kind of exploring how music and archetypes, music and tarot together both explore similar archetypes, and they can be used as mnemonics for one another.
Okay, yeah, and I that's a book I would highly recommend. You came on earlier this year, and you talked about it, so people can find that. Which is the title of the book is As Above, So Below.
It's Beyond, As Above, So Below: Understanding Hermetic Tarot Through the Music of Maynard James Keenan.
Okay.
And it is on Amazon in print and ebook as well.
Yeah, highly recommended.
Thank you.
And you came on not too long ago, actually, on the show, like a couple of months ago. You came on to talk about the divine feminine as well. So
very much enjoyed it. Looking forward to future opportunities to chat with you guys again.
Yeah, absolutely. And very happy to have you be a part of the conference as well.
I'm super pleased to be here. Thanks very much for having me.
Okay. We will Tim, we'll talk about what you're going to talk about, which I think we kind of got a little bit of that when I was on Strange Familiars. We kind of talked about it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about disappearing evidence in the paranormal phenomena, specifically around Bigfoot, because that's kind of my specialty, but it does apply across the board. And the interesting thing about evidence when collected, especially when it tends to be dramatic evidence in terms of Bigfoot, hair, blood, things like that, they go missing at an incredible rate, like way higher than random. These things just disappear. And we're going to talk about that and some of the associated phenomena that goes with it, like the Bigfoot world's analog to the Men in Black. These seems to be two guys that come around. One's a big guy They say dresses like a biker, sometimes like a lumberjack, interestingly enough. And another guy that's a little bit more professional in a suit. And they tend to intimidate witnesses. And they tend to pick witnesses who have evidence like, blood or hair obtained in often in violent means. Like they have claimed to have shot or even killed one of these entities, whatever they are. And then these fellas show up. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of examples throughout the years of Bigfoot evidence going missing.
Do these guys confiscate evidence?
They tend to intimidate more than confiscate evidence. Although I believe there are examples of them actually grabbing evidence, but they tend to intimidate people and just say, hey, you shot a bear, and it'd be very, very intimidating in that way. And people, we know of several cases where people have talked about it, but what we don't know is how many cases these guys have showed up where it's worked and people don't talk about it because these guys are very intimidating. They often suggest that they're from one government organization or another, often the Department of the Interior, although they have suggested that they're from another government organization at times as well. So yeah, there's something going on, and I don't believe they're government agents at all.
And it's one of the things that you're going to talk about. I mean, not to get too ahead of it, but just one of the things you're going to talk about, the missing Patterson-Gimlin film.
I mean, it definitely comes up because it's one of the best examples of missing evidence in the Bigfoot phenomena. Here's the most popular piece of evidence, I think anywhere, for Bigfoot. Everybody's familiar with the Patty film, and people say, if we only had the original, we could determine, the speed the film was recorded at. And if we knew the speed the film was recorded at, then we could determine the size of whatever's in there was either like, around 6 foot tall, which is, could be a creature, but is within normal human range, or something more like 7 foot tall, which still could be a human, but way less likely to get a 7 foot tall guy in a suit out there in the woods. So, they say if we had the original, we could determine things like this, and then the original's gone. I'm not a film guy, Seriah. I'm just reporting.
Because I'm not sure what the film speed would matter as far as determining height.
I only know what I've read. I've read as that goes.
What the Bigfoot experts have told him, as far as that goes.
I've only know what I read. I'm not a film guy, but I'm just saying what people say. If we had the original, we could determine these things, and we don't have the original. The most important, if it is real, and I sit on the fence with the Patterson-Gimlin film as to whether it's real or not. But if it is real, if it does show a real creature, the most important video evidence we do not have the original film for. Now, people claim, it's in some film warehouse somewhere. Okay. It's in some guy's attic. All right. If we can't lay hands on it, it has effectively disappeared. It's like these skeletons that supposedly the Smithsonian had come in and, in the 1800s, late 1800s, and grabbed all these giant skeletons. And people are like, the Smithsonian has a warehouse full of giant skeletons. They don't. I don't believe that for a second. I think that was a aspect of the phenomena. At the time, science was big and scary. Now the government is big and scary. So I don't believe the Smithsonian has a warehouse full of giant skeletons. But let's say they do. It doesn't matter. If we can't put our hands on them and study them, they are effectively disappeared. And it's the same with the Patterson-Gimlin film. It is effectively gone.
The skeletons actually do have catalog numbers in the Smithsonian. However, they are not allowed to be accessed because they're so old and fragile. Okay. Now, that's not necessarily a warehouse full of giants, but they do have things like giant skulls cataloged and stuff. Micah Hanks was actually the one that did that research and found out that the records do exist, but the items probably don't anymore. So it does count disappearing.
If we can't put our hands on them, they are effectively disappeared. And I don't think that you take the number of these reported incidents. The Smithsonian had to have agents all over the country in the late 1800s that would just show up at these sites and confiscate these bones. I'm not buying it. They may have had some, But I'm not buying that all of these incidents where they claim to show up, the all powerful Smithsonian had their agents out there. I'm not buying it.
So the Patterson Gimlin film, what's the earliest copy that we have of it if the original is gone?
We have copies of copies at this point. You know, someone made a copy at some point in the 70s, and someone made a digital copy of that. You know, recently someone has claimed to have dug up a copy that has extra footage about which I don't think I'm allowed to talk about. But until I see it, I don't believe it. I'm just like, I'll believe it when I see it. So, you know, they supposedly claim to have the original film, and it's in somebody's attic somewhere. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. You know, bring it out, prove it. Let's see it. Let's have the original.
I don't think this was something that I ever knew until it was probably you or Josh that said this, that the original film was gone.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
There was a big fight over the rights for it. If you want to, you know, to me, it's not that interesting. But if you want to get into the drama of the early Bigfoot, you know, the early quote unquote big names in Bigfoot, and these guys that claim the rights to this film, it's a probably pretty interesting story. But it's, you know, that's not really what my talk is about. So I'm not going to go into all the drama of the legal rights to the film. But there's been a push and pull on this film since, I think, you know, just about the day one on it as to the ownership and so forth.
Interesting. Yeah, just something I did not know till you said it. I guess I just always took it for granted that what they had was the original.
Well, I mean, think about, you know, so supposedly the original Minnesota Iceman is gone too, that they toured with. And supposedly somebody made a copy of that. Now the copy of that is in some museum in Texas or something. But the original is gone. And then people claim, oh, it's some rich collector has the original in his collection. Okay, it's gone. It's still disappeared. If we don't know the name of this rich collector, if we can't put our hands on the original specimen, it's gone. It has disappeared. The stuff just disappears left and right.
Well, the thing about the Minnesota Iceman was that, like, as the story goes, there was like this anthropology student that saw it at a fair in Iowa. And like, he looked at it and he was like, man, this looks pretty real to me. And then like a real creature, you know, or like a human relative or whatever. And he got like his professor or whatever to come with him later on to see it. And he looked at it. And of course they couldn't really do like a study on it because, you know, it's on the carnival and you're in like this like dark room or whatever, you know, and like he looked at it and he thought that there could be something to it. But then after that happened, the guy who owned it just like removed it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to see it later and it was not the same. It was mock-up of whatever it had been.
Yep. And so, I forget who the two guys went to study it at some point before the mock-up, and they said the ice had melted a bit, and they said they were getting a stench of decay coming off of this thing. And they were very convinced that it was real. And then, you know, there's I don't know how many stories as to where the original has gone at this point. The most common one is that it's in the hands of some very wealthy collector somewhere. But, you know, again, okay, it's disappeared. It's, you know, if we can't put our hands on it, if we can't study it, it's gone.
Right. And I suppose there's original casts and those type of things that have disappeared as well.
Hair samples go missing in the mail. Multiple, like many times. And for the I'm drawing a blank. I will have the name in my presentation of the woman who actually does like the hair analysis. And she says it's amazing how many of these things go missing. The DNA analysis of Bigfoot that I'm drawing a blank on her name too. The woman who did the DNA analysis a few years ago.
Ketchum.
Now with the
Ketchum.
Yeah, Ketchum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with the results or not, that's beyond the point. But people said that they would send her DNA evidence and she would send it back, and it would just it would either go missing on the way to her, or she'd send it out to other labs to have it retested. They would go missing at other labs. It would go missing on the way back to people. A number of these super important, if they're anomalous at all, DNA samples have just gone. They're just disappeared. They're just, so it's happening still. This stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Tim, and we'll move on. But how similar is this to like the other stuff that you studied, like all this, like the saints and like the relics, and how similar is because some of that disappears and reappears?
It really does. Yeah, I mean, Brother Richard gave a story one time about the saint relics that just regularly disappear. They're there and then they're not there, and then they're back again. Of a certain saint, and I forget which he said, but yeah, this happens. The phenomenon, all of this stuff, and again, this is a line Brother Richard uses, but I'm going to steal it. It uses the same channels to get through. So that's why you have, whether it's a Marian apparition or a UFO sighting or Bigfoot, you have so many of these strange things that happen around this stuff, and it's all using the same channels to get through. So you will find this repeated, this firsthand evidence going missing again and again.
Interesting stuff, man. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to. This is one you've been talking about for a while, so I've been looking forward to seeing your presentation on this. The disappearing evidence. Have you done a show about this on Strange Familiars? I don't think you have you?
I'm sure I've talked about it here and there, but I haven't done a dedicated show to it. I don't think. No.
Yeah.
I think you've talked about it. I think you've talked about it on Where Did the Road Go a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were doing the press for Volume 1, and that's, I'm drawing heavily from Where the Footprints End, Volume 1, my chapter on disappearing evidence for this talk. We talked about a lot on a lot of different shows.
All right. And Tim, you were going to finish us off on Sunday, 4:50 to 5:50. That's Central Time. So that's 5:50 to 6:50 for you.
All right.
And I'll go ahead and give Robert. I've got Robert, Seriah, and Tim. I've got all you guys on the line. So Robert, I've got you 2:30 to 3:30 Central Time. So it's like 12:30 to like 1:30 for you. And then Seriah, 3:40 to 4:40, which is
right. I'll try to.
Go ahead, Robert. I guess we got a delay here or something. But Seriah, I think you got 3:40 to 4:40 Central Time, so that's 4:40 to 5:40 for you.
That's what I have down.
That's what you have down. All right.
So that's good. That's good. We're on the same page.
Yeah. That's always good. Hey, Robert, what were you going to say? I'm sorry. I think we got
yes, 12:30 that's what I had down as well.
Okay, awesome. Good. All right. Everybody's on the same page, got everybody situated. All right. Well, Robert, we'll go to you. I want to hear what you're gonna talk about for the masses to let them know what they can expect.
Is that you dropped out for a second? Was that directed at me?
Yes. I want what everybody's going to talk about. What you're going to talk about this year at the conference. Your presentation.
Yeah. Okay. So when you first asked me to do this, I realized that it was going to be November 3rd, like 2 days before the elections. And at first I thought maybe I should do something political, and then I realized everyone's going to be politicked out by November 3rd. So I thought, no, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite directors, Edgar G. Ulmer, and the sort of Fordian high strangeness aspects of many of his films. So the title of the talk is Mr. Ulmer's Cabinet of Wonders, Edgar G. Ulmer, and the Cinema of High Strangeness. And so I'm going to be talking about his career goes all the way back to the 30s. So I'll be talking about films like Black Cat, which is the first film to pair up Karloff and Lugosi together. More obscure films, Moon Over Harlem, which is from 39. In the 1940s, he did Strange Illusion, Ruthless, The Strange Woman, Detour, which is his most famous film. And then on to The Man from Planet X, which is his most overtly Fordian film. And the majority of the talk will be focused on The Man from Planet X, the first alien invasion, feature-length alien invasion film. And then on from there to Murder Is My Beat, Beyond the Time Barrier, The Amazing Transparent Man, Daughter of Dr. Jekyll, and whatever else we can fit in to the hour. So I'll be talking about the centerpiece will be The Man from Planet X, but I'll also be talking about other films that he did as well.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, looking forward to that one as well. And you're gonna be talking just like pretty extensively about all that. So definitely looking forward to it. Anything that you want to add as far as like what people can look forward to with the presentation, or any like kind of teasers for it, interesting tidbits?
Well, at first I thought maybe I would just focus on the Ulmer films that had Fordian content to them, like Man from Planet X, The Black Amazing Transparent Man, and then I realized, well, that'd be cutting out some of the most important films. So I'm also going to be talking about films that are not overtly Fordian, like Detour or The Strange Woman, but there's a kind of quality about them, a transgressive, iconoclastic quality about them, a sort of strange existential view of this absurdist universe that I think somehow overlaps with Charles Fort and John Keel and that kind of Fordian point of view. So even when the Ulmer films are not overtly Fordian, I think they kind of have a Fordian spirit about them. So I decided to talk about those films as well.
Okay. So just adding in some of like the mysterious and like Fortean stuff in there too.
Yeah. There are certain cineasts who consider, they talk about the cult of Ulmer. There's a sort of who are really into Edgar Ulmer. So and they communicate with each other through esoteric winks and nods and handshakes. So I will be initiating everybody into the cult into the secret society of Ulmer, which I think he would appreciate.
And actually, too, Robert, since I got you, we'll talk a little bit about this. You sent me a magazine, which I showed to everybody, the New Dawn magazine.
Yes.
And your article, Freemasons from Outer Space, what is that about?
By the way, just following on what Tim was talking about, at arm's length, I have, just because you always have to have a copy of a Roger Patterson's book, just at arm's length. You never know when you might need a copy of Roger Patterson's book on hand. So I just have it sitting 5 feet away from me.
Is the sketch of the female Bigfoot in there?
Outer Space is about. I found this at a used bookstore called came across it was the best way to come across such books. Franklin Press, Yakima, Washington, 1966. From well, oddly enough, at first it says Trailblazer Research, P.O. Box 836, Yakima, Washington 6. First edition. All rights reserved. Copyright Trailblazer Research. This is it has many illustrations, in fact, and it has the Iceman in it as well. A cornucopia of cryptid information in this book. Everyone should have a copy. I don't know, has it been republished? Someone should republish this book. I don't know that it has been republished.
It's very
Somebody
interestingly,
should do like a graphic novel adaptation of it. I think that would be wonderful.
if I'm correct, it has a an illustration he did of a female Bigfoot with hairy boobs, which is remarkably like what was filmed in the Patterson-Gimlin footage a few years later.
Also, I think Robert is on like a 10 to 15 second delay.
Yeah, it seems to be that way.
Indeed, you're correct. Yes, there are many such illustrations. There's wonderful illustrations of the that famous story, about the miners getting attacked by the Sasquatch, and they're throwing the boulders down on them. There's wonderful pen and ink illustrations of that incident here.
Yeah,
in a wonderful, almost Virgil Finlay kind of out of a issue of Amazing Stories from the 1940s. So yes, this is a book to get. So what was the question?
Oh, so the question: Freemasons from Outer Space in the new edition of New Dawn magazine.
Oh yes. So the article is my analysis of the Antonio Villalobos abduction, which of course predates, Interrupted Journey, John Fuller, and the abduction in Brazil of a young farmer, Antonio Villalobos. And as I was reading the description of it in one of the books by the Lorenzens, by Carol Lorenzen, I realized that there was all this overt Hermetic Masonic symbolism in the story of the abduction. And so I decided to analyze his abduction the way you would do literary analysis of symbolism in a short story or a novel or a poem. Sometimes in my creative writing classes, I give exercises to my students to take something that happened to them in the normal course of the day and interpret it as if it were a dream. Like, if you had dreamed this, what would that mean? I was at the post office and the guy came up to me and showed me a headless fish, and then walked away. Things like that happen to me all the time. And then, what was that? Did that happen? Was that a dream? Like, what does that mean? And so as I was reading this story of the abduction, I decided I'll just analyze this tale, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, who knows, as if it were a short story. And so let's analyze the symbolism. And I noticed that there was a lot of overt Masonic symbolism in it. And so I thought, that's interesting. Is that an isolated case, or are there other alien abduction stories that are infused with Masonic and Hermetic symbolism? And if so, what does that mean? Jacques Vallée mentioned, I think, Confrontations, that he thought that a lot of the abduction cases he'd heard about, or contactee cases, almost sounded like initiations into secret societies, that the entities would have the contactee do a lot of kind of seemingly absurd things, not dissimilar to what happened to someone who's undergoing a Hermetic initiation into an ancient secret society. And so when I read that, and then I connected that Vallée comment with what I was thinking when I read about the Antonio Villalobos abduction, I thought, well, that's worth an article, I think. And in fact, it could be worth a whole book, possibly. But why is there Masonic symbolism in this particular abduction? And is there more abduction, Masonic symbolism that can be found in other contactee or abduction scenarios?
Wow. Okay. So Kyndyll, I actually, I'm curious of what your thoughts on that. As someone that's into Hermeticism.
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty fascinating, and certainly piques my curiosity for sure. I
Yeah.
mean,
Have you looked into a lot of those, like into like alien abductions and some of that stuff, and like some of the symbolism and imagery that's in some of that?
not really. No, most of my stuff is, what got me into hermetics was just an absolute obsession and fascination with tarot, and it's the main lens through which I view hermeticism. But like any good system of symbolism, it's applicable in writing, it's applicable in filmmaking. It's endemic to meaning making, and when you have unexplainable events or encounters, we go to the part of our brain that's oldest, which is that storytelling and symbolic part of our ancient brains, I guess you could say, are some of our most primal brains. We process information through symbolism and through storytelling. So to me, that's like the idea of crossing the streams between hermeticism and abductions, and then you throw in secret society. I'm interested.
Are we just not going to address the haunted tablecloth behind Kyndyll there?
I know.
I have a haunted tablecloth.
It's been moving the whole time.
My ceiling fan is on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read that article because that's really interesting. I mean, by the way, Kiki Dombrowski says Kyndyll, you're the best tarot reader and you're an amazing tarot teacher. I'll put that up there for you.
Thank you, Kiki.
But like I've there's like a lot of weird, like, okay, so one of the cases that really intrigues me is the Betty Andreasson case, and even though there was a lot of Christian imagery, there was still a lot, I think, of like Hermetic imagery, especially around like the phoenix. And you could look into that. Like there's a lot of interesting imagery in that case. And yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely dig into this article. I never thought of anything like the Villas Boas stuff other than like that's one of the very first alien abduction. Like it's a really weird one. Like 1955, and like it's got a lot of like the alien hybrid stuff in it there too, a little bit as well. So
it's interesting because some people might say, well, if you look for symbolism in something, you're going to find it. So if you like, I did an article that I talked about with Seriah on Where Did the Road Go, about you're just Jack looking Kirby for it and you're finding it. But like in Darren Aronofsky's Pi, like you're looking for a pattern and then you find it. But actually that doesn't happen. It's not like I'm watching an Adam Sandler movie and suddenly I see all this Masonic symbolism, jumping out of the screen at me. That doesn't generally happen, So signal to noise, I tend to notice it, and so that's why I decided to write the article.
You don't get any kind of like symbolism from Adam Sandler movies? I get it all the time. So, all right. Seriah.
Yes.
Now, You are always the crux that the Strange Realities Conference.
I am.
You are. And I really want to know what you're going to be doing this year.
Yeah.
You're going
What
to
am
keep it a mystery until about you'll keep it a mystery for me until about 3:40 Central Time on Sunday, November 3rd.
Sometimes I keep it a mystery for me until about 3:30. But this time I actually I had finally finished reading The Invisible Gorilla, and because I really want to do a show on it and stuff. And one of the things they talked about at the end was this correlation that was a false correlation about and people may remember this. There was a whole movement of, play Mozart for your babies and it'll make them smarter. There was this whole market for playing classical music for babies, and it was proven scientifically to make babies smarter. It turns out those studies were not replicated. It turns out that if you go into a test and you just sit in silence for 15 minutes, you do worse than if you listen to music you like right before taking a test. That was the replicated study, and so I was like, well, that's interesting. I want to dig a little more into that. And then I decided maybe I'll look at music and the paranormal, because I've had a few incidents with music and the paranormal. I have some stories people have sent me where they were hearing like music and stuff during paranormal experiences. And then I was just listening to an old Paratopia, one of the more recent ones that Jeremy put out, where Jeff reminded me that there were the DMT elves that will sing stuff into existence. And so I'm sure Tim has plenty of folklore that also involves music in some of these experiences. So, yeah, I think that's the direction I'm going to go. And if that doesn't fill the time, I may dig into different ideas about synchronicity and stuff.
Okay.
We'll see how much I dig up. I mean, like I said, I've had a handful of weird music experiences. Yeah, so that's probably at least going to be the start of my talk.
All right. Well, okay. Well, I think that's it, guys. I mean, there's anything else that you guys want to add about your talks, about anything that you're going to do? I think that we'll call it here. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this tonight and doing this. But guys, tickets are available, strangerealitiesconference.com. And this rounds out the rest of the speakers pretty much. And let's go down the line with everybody. Tim, I'll start with you. Please tell everybody where they can find you and what you do and all that good stuff.
Strangefamiliars.com. That's my podcast, and links to everything I do is there. Are there? Links are there. The links to everything I do are there. All that information goes to me. Strangefamiliars.com. And we are in the middle of Squatchtober. I'm doing a Bigfoot illustration every day for October. The originals are selling quickly, but there's still a chance to get one of my original Bigfoot drawings. Squatchtober continues through the 31st.
Nice.
Okay. Are you selling those?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They go on every day, usually between about 10 a.m. and noon Eastern time. They go up on my Etsy shop, and then I put links in all the socials. So you got to be quick. They're going quick, usually within a few minutes of posting them. So.
And Kyndyll, where can people find you?
You can find me at Kyndyll Lackey, pretty much everywhere. That's got the same profile name in all places. It's spelled a little strange if you're listening to this instead of watching. It's MKYNDYLL Lackey, LACKEY, and you can find me on Instagram, and that's my website name as well. I'm also on Amazon for a book, and I am available for online readings as well as in-person readings at Aroma G's in Nashville.
All right. And Robert.
Yes, it's interesting. I have to sort of every other word drops out, so I have to fill in with my imagination what you're saying, and I realize that's how human beings communicate. But I think you're asking me what I have coming up. I have the Expected Mother
where people
Disinformation
can find
Handbook
all
out
that
on the
stuff.
27th, and it will be of interest to conspiracy hounds and paranormal fans and movie fans and fans of. And I also have Hollywood Haunts the World, which is the talk I'm doing is drawn from 2 chapters in Hollywood Haunts the World, which is coming out from Head Press next year. And I have the New Dawn article, Freemasons from Outer Space, just came out. And I have a short story, Oratorio, that is in a collection called The Rise of the Underdogs, Volume 2, edited by J.R. Martin. And in fact, Oratorio, if Camellia fans will find an element in Oratorio that they might find interesting. And I have a novelette called The Land of Thieves and Phantoms, which is coming out in an anthology film, Nosferatu. It's coming out December 10th. And in fact, that particular novelette was partly inspired by our conversation with Dr. Future from this past January. There's elements to that in the immediate future.
Yeah, sorry, Robert. I think you cut out on me there a little bit. All right. Seriah, we'll go over to you real quick.
Yeah, everything for Where Did the Road Go can be found at wheredidtheroadgo.com. And if you like heavy music, thelastexit.org.
All right. Always good. Always recommend.
Cryptoschatology.com is my website. Check cryptoschatology.com. There's many updates there.
Okay. All right, guys. Okay, so we of course Conspiranormal. That is us, and Strange Realities Conference is coming up November 1st and the 2nd in Nashville, Tennessee, and online November 3rd, online only. The entire thing is online. If you have not gotten your tickets, what are you waiting for? Because need to get you into the Facebook group especially if you're doing it online. We don't want to be doing that a mad scramble at the last minute, 5:00 on Friday, November 1st. But tickets are available at strangerealitiesconference.com. You can find them there. There is a link there for you to buy them. And tickets are, of course, $70 to get into the whole thing, online or otherwise. And we also have the $30 online only tickets, and we do have day passes available. So if you want to come to Nashville and hang out, that is $40 for Friday and $40 for Saturday. And if you are going to buy a $40 ticket for each days, you get $10 off to get into the whole thing on Friday and Saturday. So please come join us. Tickets are selling fast. So, all right, guys, strangerealitiesconference.com. And we will talk to you later on Conspiranormal.